As you may have heard, Warhammer 40k is an expensive hobby, with people spending thousands of dollars on their army. If you don't have that type of money, you may be looking into 40k's little cousin, Kil Team, especially with this new edition released in October 2024. But is Kil Team also expensive? Well, let's dive into the true cost of getting into the game and what you can do to save money. If you're short on time, I'm not going to make you wait. The total amount is $346.09, excluding tax, to have everything you need to play the full game of Kil Team. This price reflects some of the cheapest but practical items you need to play the game. If you want to hear about why it costs this much, where you can find these items cheaper, and what you can do to cut costs, continue watching this video. Every item I mention will also be in the description of the video. To start things off, the first thing you'll need is a Kil Team box. Plain and simple. I put $50 here because you can find them all day on eBay for right around that price. Do note, with this newer edition of Kil Team, it is more cost effective to buy a newer team than an older one. The reason being is that teams are being retired after a few years, so newer teams like the Vespids will last longer than the Pathfinders as seen here. And here is our first Poor Hammer note. Poor Hammer is a term in the community used for everyday items like cardboard, styrofoam, coins, etc. to be used in place of the actual items to reduce the cost of gaming. Notes like these will occasionally pop out throughout the video, giving you little details about how you can save money even further. I'm not going to go too much into detail since YouTube is filled with Poor Hammer videos, and I suggest you look into them more if you're interested. Now that you bought your team, it doesn't stop here, and this is how Game Workshop gets you. You think you spent $50 and you're done, just like the average price of a board game. Well, you actually have more steps, and one of these first steps is building your team, and this is where building supplies comes in. The first thing you'll need is sprue cutters to cut apart each piece of your model from the sprues. I have here $5.47 for a wire cutter found on Amazon that works even better than the Army Painter sprue cutter, which for those unfamiliar, Army Painter tends to be the cheapest option found in local hobby stores. Even with the best of sprue cutters though, they can leave leftover plastic on the model, and sometimes the pieces even have mold lines that need to be removed. This is where a hobby knife can come in handy. This hobby knife is being sold at $1.25 at Dollar Tree, a popular dollar store here in the United States. I personally use this knife and it works really well. And lastly, you'll need something to put all these bits and pieces together that you just cut out. And this is where a tube of super glue comes in handy. Here's another Dollar Tree special at $1.25, which again I've used on my models and works pretty well, especially this gel kind to keep pieces in place. And so, building the box is not that expensive, with it costing about $7.97 more. However, the real cost comes in painting your models. You see, you can keep them gray, but where's the fun in that? To get them painted, you'll need the following. The first thing you'll need is some brushes. And of course you can pick up some cheap brushes for $1.25. However, for the small models that are found in Kil Team, you're going to need really small brushes to color in the eyes, feet, etc., and that's where hobby brushes come in. Hobby brushes can be incredibly expensive, but here are some affordable ones at $9.99 that I personally used and work well for painting those tiny towel lenses and won't break the bank. Next, you'll need a primer, but not just any primer. You'll want a specific primer for miniatures that doesn't fill in the model's recesses and make sure that all the small details are seen. This is where a can of Tamiya's surface primer comes in. Although a smaller quantity than other primers, this can is definitely enough for your team and comes in at $12.50. After priming the models, here comes the fun part, painting. You'll need 3 paints to get your models battle ready. Battle ready is a painting standard that Game Workshop requires so that your models are eligible to play the game. Each of these paints costs about $4.55. However, you can get the price down if you buy bulk painting sets, but this is the price for just 3 individual paints. The next step of getting your models battle ready is shading. Here, buying Null Oil at $7.80 is a great option and is a very popular shading paint for beginners. The last part of being battle ready is basing. Here I have sand and glue that you can get at Dollar Tree for $1.25 each. You simply use one of the big brushes from the set mentioned earlier, apply the glue to the base, and then dip the base in sand. Since the sand is white, you can color it however you would want. And with that, your models are battle ready for an updated total of $104.90. Even though your models are battle ready, you as a player aren't, and so you're going to need actual items to play the game. The first of these are activation tokens for each model. Even though we have a new edition of Kil Team, many of the previous tokens will still work well for the new edition or can be altered to be used in this new edition, and you can find them on eBay for $12.50. Next up is the equipment pack. With it being a new feature of Kil Team, it's unlikely going to be cheaper than what it's being sold at currently, which is $45. Then you're going to need a good old set of dice to roll attacks and defenses for your model. Unlike Warhammer that requires sometimes 50 plus dice, Kil Team really only requires 5 dice total, so 10 dice for $1.25 is definitely enough. Additionally, you'll need a tape measure to measure movements and shooting distances. This is a huge improvement over last edition where shapes were being used to determine movement. Lastly, you'll need approved op cards, as these are what determine mission, terrain, layout, etc. There really isn't much wiggle room on prices right now, so it will probably be about $35. Now that you have your team built, painted, and your gameplay items, the next thing you'll need is terrain. Currently, only the new Killzone Volcus and the old Galadark and Beta Decima have updated layout and rules for this edition. With Volcus only being able to be purchased through the box set, Galadark and Beta Decima will cost you somewhere between $115 and $150 on eBay, but you may be able to find it for less. So averaging all that out, I put $132.50. And with you and your army ready to play Kil Team, the last thing now is transportation. You see, you're probably going to stores, events, or your friend's house, and you don't want your miniatures you spent so long painting to get chipped. And here is where magnets and a cooking sheet come in hand. The magnets will cost you $2.70 on K&J, plus $5 for shipping, while the cooking sheet is going to be $5.99 on Amazon. The magnets are used on the bottom of your miniatures so that they'll stay still on the cooking sheets so nothing will get damaged during transportation. Do remember to buy a cooking sheet that is magnetic, and the one I have here will also be in the description, and this one is magnetic. And so, with all these items, that will bring our final total to $346.09. And this is the true cost of getting into Kil Team. With that in mind, there is one last thing you can do to get the cost down, and that is getting into Kil Team with a friend and splitting the price. You can split the cost of all the items shown on the screen and reduce the cost to $206.38. And so, hopefully that helps you in deciding whether or not to get into Kil Team, and if you do, I hope it also helps you in getting the most affordable and practical items to play the game. Thank you so very much for watching.